Are we live? Are we live? Good evening, everybody. Someone leave us a little message if you're there, whether we know if we're in the right place. First things first, most importantly, hope you all got a little bit of this. Good evening, Dream Team, and a very warm welcome to you all to the Great Rugby Genius Quiz. This is round one. We've got 4 to come, 3 more to come, I should say, over the next 3 weekends. Friday nights are rugby quiz nights from now on. I hope you're all feeling, you've done your prep. I hope you're all feeling confident. This is the 80s round, and we're going to come to that a little bit later on. But first things first, pour yourself a large glass of something. I think it's fair to say we all deserve it right now. Good evening. Another nice little setup here in the background as well. Thank you to Genius for their support tonight. Thank you, Jason, and to Charlie. Ladies and gents, good evening to you all. My name is Alex Payne. It's a great pleasure to be your host for what is the first of the Great Rugby Genius quizzes. And before we get into it, and we'll just let everyone join, I'm sure there are 1 or 2 who will be a little bit late to the party, but it is worth just very quickly telling you what we're doing, why we're doing it. And I know most of you will be very familiar with the great Doddie Weir and the remarkable cause that has just got so much momentum behind it at the moment, thanks to his extraordinary charisma and power and strength. But tonight, obviously, as well as having a lot of fun and doing the quiz itself, we are trying to raise some money for Doddie's wonderful My Name'5 Doddie Foundation. I know the majority of you will be very familiar with it, but for those who perhaps are tagging along tonight or haven't necessarily embedded themselves in rugby for that long, Doddie Weir is one of the big names, not only in Scottish rugby, but the world game, one of the great characters, an absolute superstar on the field, but is fighting quite a battle at the moment. In June 2017, he revealed that he's fighting motor neuron disease. He is doing it with the most extraordinary bravery and courage and determination, and has set up this wonderful foundation, the My Name'5 Doddie Foundation. And tonight we're trying to raise as much money as we possibly can for the great man and his great cause. As well as being a champion on the field, he won the title with Melrose, he won a title with Newcastle Falcons, 61 caps for Scotland, and a British and Irish Lions tourist in 1997. He is a champion off the field as well, and that was actually recognised last year at the BBC Sports Personality of the Year Awards, and Doddie collected the Helen Rollason Award, which just goes for people who are going above and beyond, and he is certainly a man doing just that. And actually it is well worth just bringing out a quote that he's living by at the moment, because I think it probably will fit very well with all of us right now. And Doddie has said it in the past: my attitude is that you should do what you can today and worry about tomorrow when it comes. This is the card I've been dealt, so I've just got to crack on. And never a truer word said right now. So tonight, if you are able and if you are happy and if you are willing, we would love you to donate some money into the link, which hopefully is surrounding me somewhere on this YouTube video. We're looking for donations of £20 a person. If that fits comfortably with you, that is absolutely brilliant for us. It can be done via that PayPal link, as I said, and the YouTube link, or the link should be on this YouTube channel. And everybody who enters some money into the pot will also, in doing so, enter the prize draw, which is going to take place on Monday. And we've got some brilliant prizes to give out for those of you who pop some money in the pot. We've got cases of Genius beer, as you'd expect. And we mentioned our huge thanks to Jason Clark and Charlie Craig, who've very kindly supported the quiz and Doddie's Foundation. We have got a signed Lions jersey from the 2017 tour to New Zealand. We've got a signed Doddie Weir autobiography to give out as well. And I literally thought of this about 30 seconds ago. But seeing as we are giving away prizes, I don't know if any of you have ever come across House of Rugby. It's a fairly shambolic podcast that I was going to use the word fortunate enough, but I'm sort of contractually obliged to do with Mike Tyndall and James Haskell on a Tuesday night. If any of you listen to it and you enjoy it, then we'll chuck a behind-the-scenes tour of House of Rugby in there as well. So hopefully when the lights go green again, we would love to welcome 2, 4, 6 of you, whatever it might be, to come and have a beer and watch our shambles of a show being recorded. Thankfully, they're not here tonight, which is going to make this a lot more peaceful and hopefully a lot less controversial. The quiz itself, just worth telling you, it's not about winners and losers tonight. It's about those of you taking part. You're going to keep your own scores. I know that 1 or 2 of you are dialing in and we'll be sort of communicating via Zoom and WhatsApp, so I hope your broadband is up to it. But we'll give you a bit of breathing space between each question so that you can discuss answers, etc. As we mentioned, the quiz tonight is the Great Rugby Quiz, a kick up the 1980s. And I've seen already that someone has said that they're already out of their depth. Who was it? Oh, yeah, Stu, born in the mid-80s. I'm screwed. You're not, son. You need to just, think laterally, delve back into the memory bank. Some great years, some great games. We've got a bit of a spiel as well. Those of you who are rugby nuts, we're going to try and sort the rugby nauses from the lost causes, will know that obviously the 70s was dominated by Wales. They were the team to beat in the what was the Five Nations at that time. They won 4 Grand Slams and provided a number of the players who toured with the Lions in 71, 74 and 1977. The 80s, though, saw the shift in power towards the free-running, flamboyant French, it says, who on their day were not only a sight to behold, but extremely difficult to beat. All of the Five Nations teams had something to cheer about in an era that saw 4 Grand Slam winners and 5 Triple Crown champions as well. We're going to go into a bit of the Lions. They toured South Africa in 81, New Zealand in 83, and for the first time, a standalone tour to Australia in 1989. Mixed results along the way in those causes. 89, obviously, the standout for many of us. We had the first Rugby World Cup taking place in New Zealand in 1987, and South Africa, due to isolation from apartheid from 85 to 91, did not play a single test match against an established country, although they did play some matches against some makeshift teams. So those are the kind of parameters that we're going to be going down. Tonight's quiz, ladies and gentlemen, is on the 1980s. Hopefully you've all got a pen. Oh, you want me to speak closer to the microphone. Can you hear me, Max? Has everyone got me? Give us a thumbs up if you know what you're doing, if you can hear me. What I don't want to be doing is firing into this if you can't hear it. Max, if you can't hear, perhaps you might be able to turn up your volume. I don't know. Ali says we can go for it. Good stuff. It just remains for me to say, I hope we have a lot of fun tonight. Thank you so much to all of you for getting involved. Well done to Stuart for pulling all of this together. We'll have a bit of a break in between. And we are off and running. So if you're all happy, round 1 is the Five Nations in the 1980s. Sharpen your pencils, get your pens, and away we go. Question number 1. The Millennium Trophy was first played for in 1988. Who are the 2 teams that compete for that trophy? The Millennium Trophy was first played for in 1988. Who are the 2 teams who compete for the trophy? Andrew, thank you for your donation. Thanks to all of you who've popped your pennies in the pot. We've got 1 or 2 others in there. And so the abuse begins. We're a friendly show tonight. Question number 1. The Millennium Trophy was first played for in 1988. Who are the 2 teams competing for the trophy? Just the 1 point for that one. And we will move on to question number 2. England won the Grand Slam in 1980. Their first since 1957. Good things come to those who wait, they say. 4 players in that squad have gone on to either manage or to coach the British and Irish Lions. Can you name 2 of them? So England won the Grand Slam in 1980. 4 players in the squad have gone on to either manage or coach the British and Irish Lions. Can you name 2 of them? Delicious. For those of you who are struggling, you need to get yourself some Genius. It does fire up the brain cells. Beth, where is the link to donate? Hopefully, I can't actually see it on my live broadcast, but hopefully if you ever scoot about, it's a PayPal link. Perhaps someone would be kind enough to pop the link into the chat. That might be quite helpful, and then we can take it from there. Question number 2, England won the Grand Slam in 1980. 4 players in that squad have gone on to either manage or coach the British and Irish Lions. Can you name 2 of them? Question, I'll see 2 points for that. Question number 3, just for the 1 point. Question number 3. Wales lost to Scotland 34-18 in the final match of the 1982 tournament in Cardiff. What was the significance of that defeat? Wales lost to Scotland 34-18 in the final match of the 1982 tournament in Cardiff. What was the significance of that defeat? Well done, Wayne. Thank you for your donation. Good man. I hope you're all getting some answers down. Only 3 questions in. Hopefully no one has quit and run off at this point. Question number 4. The 1983 tournament was shared by both France and Ireland. Both teams finished level on points, and no tie-break procedure existed before 1993. It was France's 5th shared title and Ireland's 8th. the French winger Patrick Estève achieved what feat that had not happened since 1925? So in 1983, the short version of the question is, what did Patrick Estève, the French winner, do that no one had managed since 1925? The title itself shared between France and Ireland, and no tie-break procedure existing at that point. That is question number 4, and it is worth 1 point. And Scottoon said, bring on the 90s. You've got 7 days to wait, my friend. This is all about the glory years of the 1980s. Question number 5. England won the Grand Slam in 1980. France won it in 82 and 87. Which other nation won the Grand Slam in the 1980s? And in what year did they achieve it? That is a goodie. A little bit of an in-swinger for you. England won the Grand Slam in 80. France won it in 82 and 87. Which other nation won the Grand Slam in the 80s? And in what year did they achieve it? And that is question number 5. And you'll get a point for the team that won, and you'll get a point for the year in which they did it. So 2 points up for grabs. Is anyone able to take that link and pop it into the quiz? In fact, perhaps rather than asking others to do it, I can do it myself. That would fill a second or two, wouldn't it? Here we go. Let's have a little look where it might be. So that was question number 5. Who won a Grand Slam in the 80s, and in what year did they achieve it? And which country is it outside of England and France? Question number 6. We're going at a good pace. You're all happy? Everyone's keeping up. Question number 6. Which nation won the wooden spoon 3 times even, during the 1980s? Which nation won the wooden spoon 3 times during the 1980s? Bruce, welcome along to you. You're doing the quiz next week, the great man, in his Doddie G-string and headband. I hope you're keeping up with the quiz as well, Bruce. You need to practice what you preach. Stu can't copy and paste the bloody link. No great surprise. We will somehow manage to get the link to you, Beth, and obviously your interest and your support is hugely, hugely welcome. Question number 7. Question number 6. Who won the wooden spoon 3 times in the 80s? Question number 7. Which Welsh player holds the record for the longest place kick when he managed to hoof the ball a massive 64.2 metres against the Scots in 1986? An iconic piece of footage. I think it was Cardiff Arms Park, and it is which Welsh player holds the record for the longest place kick when he managed to hoof the ball a massive 64.2 metres against the Scots is in 1986. Hello to you, Samuel. Sadly, the answer to your question is no, much as I've tried. That is question number 7. Philippe Sella is question number 8. It was, you're right, Bruce, the Bill McLaren commentary for that kick, the longest kick, is quite something. What a man, what a legend Bill McLaren was, whose grandson, actually, Rory Lawson, captained the Scots as well, as did his son-in-law, Alan Lawson. Hang on, keeping it in the family. That is question number 7, the longest kick. Question number 8 is about the great man, Philippe Sella, who played 111 times for France between 1982 and 1995. What a man and what a career. And he ended his playing career with the English club side Saracens. He played for one other club in France during his career. What was the club? So what was the French club that Philippe Sella played for during a long and illustrious career before he joined up with Saracens? 111 caps for France between 82 and 95. It's a lot of quizzes, a lot of clues being popped into the sidebar of shame. That's not, yeah, I suppose helping it is all in the name of the game. Darren was there with 15 college girls watching the huge kick. Yeah, I'm sure they're having a good day, Darren. I'm sure it was. Philippe Sella, which club did he play for? That's question number 8, and that's for a single point. Question number 9. In the 1988 Five Nations, the match between Scotland and Wales had 2 players featuring. They played against each other in the 1988 Five Nations fixture, and a year later, they were teammates at Widnes Rugby League team. Who are the players? A point for each. Which players played against each other, one for Scotland and one for Wales in 1988, and 1 year later were on the same side in rugby league with Widnes? Question number 10, the final question in the Five Nations round of the 1980s. Some goodies in here, you'll have to agree. Worth another couple of points. In question number 10, Scotland had 6 new caps in their team against France in 1986. 4 of them represented the British and Irish Lions, 2 of which then captained them. Name the 2 players who captained the Lions, who made their debuts against France in 1986. That is a goodie. 2 Scottish players who made their debut against France in 1986, who then went on to lead the Lions. Who are those players? So that is round number 1. And I will very quickly fly through them all again, just in case you need them repeated. Question number 1. The Millennium Trophy was played for in 1988. Who are the 2 teams competing for the trophy? England won the Grand Slam, question number 2, in 1980, their first since 57. 4 players in that squad have either gone on to manage or coach the British and Irish Lions. Can you name 2 of them? Question number 3. Wales lost to Scotland 34-18 in the last match of the 82 tournament in Cardiff. What was the significance of that defeat? Question 4. In 1983, France and Ireland shared the trophy. The French winger Patrick Estève achieved what feat in that tournament that hadn't happened since 1925? Question number 5. England won the Grand Slam in 1980. France won it in 82 and 87. Which other country won the Grand Slam in the 80s? And in what year did they achieve it? Question number 6. Which nation won the wooden spoon 3 times during the 80s? Question number 7. Which Welsh player holds the record for the longest place kick when he managed to hoof the ball 64.2 metres against the Scots in 86? 8 is which French club side did Philippe Sella play for? Question number 9. In the 1988 Five Nations match between Scotland and Wales, who played against each other only to be teammates a year later with Widnes in rugby league? And last but not least, Scotland had 6 new caps in their team against France in 86. 4 of them represented the British and Irish Lions, 2 of which captained them. Name the 2 players who made their debut in 86 who captained the Lions. Thank you for the donations that are coming in. Rodoc and Darren Jones, good on you guys. Thank you very much indeed, up and down the list. For those of you who have been, Beth found the link, everybody. We can relax a little bit. Thank you, Beth, for finding the link and managing to do your donation as well. Hopefully those of you who haven't will have time to do that a little bit later on as we go. We're going to have a break after. We've got a little bit of a way to go. If you're all happy, actually I didn't ask this. I could do the ivories for it. I only played chopsticks. I have been learning Coldplay, actually, part of my lockdown initiative. Let's do we'll do one more round. I'll tell you what we'll do. We've got 5 questions in the next round, and then we'll go back and give the answers. So the next round, sharpen your pencils once again, is the other 80s stuff. Various questions from around the game. And question number 11, on we charge. The Wallabies toured Britain and Ireland in 1984, winning all 4 tests against the home nations. Outside of the tests, they lost 4 games, losing to Cardiff, Llanelli and the south of Scotland, and 1 other team. Can you name the other team that beat the Wallabies, the Grand Slam winning Wallabies, in 1984? What's the Triffid? Are we talking about, is the Triffid the plant? Is that right? That is a fiddly fig, for those of you who'd like a little bit of an update on the surroundings. I will admit that this isn't necessarily the finest place to do a rugby pub quiz. This is my children's playroom, but I have sort of set a little bar tone as well with my. I'm going to try and get through them all before the end of the quiz. I think we head off in some slightly different directions if that was to be the case. I've not fed the Triffid beer, but I'm not quite sure whether Guinness and fiddly figs, or not Guinness, Genius and fiddly figs go well together, but perhaps another time. Crikey. It's quite hard doing this on it when you can't actually interact with anybody. I sort of feel like I'm, Stuck in a bit of a time warp. Anyway, that was question number 11. Question number 12. During the same tour, the 84 Grand Slam winning tour for the Australians, which Australian player scored in all 4 test matches? It's a bit of a sitter if you know your Wallabies. One of the greats, no doubt about it. During the same tour, which Australian player in 1984 scored in all 4 test matches? Good. What's good about this is as we get the quiz going, I can just feel the tension rising in that sidebar of shame. Mark, thank you for your abuse. You've obviously listened to House of Rugby, and Louis, lovely to have you with us as well. I have a horrible feeling my wife and children are watching this upstairs, so we'll just keep it a family show before the watershed, if that's all right with you. So that was question number 12. Question number 13. After the Gleneagles Agreement in 1977. Isolated South Africa. Sorry, let's start that again. After the Gleneagles Agreement in 1977 isolated South Africa due to their apartheid policies, which nation was the last to play the box in full internationals between 1977 and 1992 when they were readmitted to international rugby? And what was the year? So the question in a shorter version is which was the last country to play against South Africa before they entered apartheid and were therefore excluded from international rugby? That is question number 13 in the other 80s stuff category. Anne-Marie, you and me both. I fear that the 90s is my strong point as well. So I'll be dialing in this next week, Bruce. I hope that you'll be wearing full Doddie tartan from top to bottom, and no doubt be doing a far better job than I am. No Buffaloes. Yeah, no, I'm very, very conscious of that. I've been done before, Timothy. I am left-handed, and I will accordingly stick to the international laws of Buffaloes. So no problems on this side. Jumpy Cloud, that's rubbish. You're not born in 2006, for heaven's sake. If that is the truth, I'm not even sure you should be pouring yourself a healthy drink in this competition. So that was question number 13. I'm not going to give you the answer. Which was the last international team to play against the box before they entered apartheid? Question number 14. The 1980 New Zealand tour of Wales was a tour of 7 matches. The New Zealand All Blacks also took in 2 international games en route to Wales. What were the other 2 teams that New Zealand played on that tour? It's a tricky one. You've really got to know your stuff. You've got to delve into the archives. You would well and truly have needed to have been a subscriber to Rugby World and Post back in those days. But in 1980, New Zealand toured Wales and they played 7 matches. But on their way to Wales, they played 2 other international games en route. What were the 2 other teams that the All Blacks played? That was question number 14. Question number 15, you've got a couple of points for each, obviously. Question number 15. We have got question number 15, which is who made their South African debut in 1980? He played his final test in 1992 and retired from rugby, playing for the Italian club side Rovigo. Hiccup, excuse me. Who made their South African debut in 1980, played their final test in 1992, and would retire from rugby, playing for the Italian club side Rovigo? That is question number 15. And we have got one more to go. Am I downing one of those beers behind me at half-time? I'm a very big ambassador and a very big advocate of #DrinkResponsibly, and I know that Genius would be only too proud of me and pleased with me for endorsing such a sensible initiative. We could play Drink What You Think, and that would certainly take this into new territories. So yes, that was question number 15. Who made their South African debut in 1980, played their final test in 92, and retired playing for the club side Rovigo? Question number 16. In 1987, England introduced the National League system. Which club were the first ever National 1 champions? There's a goodie for you. In 1987, England introduced the National League system. Which club were the first ever National 1 champions? And there's just a single point for that. Smart, #smart drinking. Thank you very much indeed to Genius. We're certainly feeling smart asking the questions, I can tell you that. So that is the first 2 rounds done. Shall I quickly fly through those, the other 5 questions as well from the other 80s stuff? The Wallabies toured Britain and Ireland in 84. They won all 4 tests, but they lost 4 games against club sides. Cardiff, Llanelli and South of Scotland are 3 of them. Which was the other team to beat the Wallabies? During the same tour, which Australian player scored in all 4 test matches? After the Glen Eagles Agreement of 1977, the Boks were isolated due to their apartheid policies, which was the final international side to play against the Boks before they were ostracised. Question number 14. The 1980 New Zealand Tour of Wales was a tour of 7 matches. The All Blacks also took in 2 international games en route to Wales. Which 2 international sides did they play? Question number 15. Who made their South African debut in 80, retired from international rugby in 92, and finished up playing for the Italian club side Rovigo? And question number 16. In 87, England introduced the National League system. Which club were the first ever National 1 champions? Good. So thank you very much for the haute couture critique. Just a very nice little number from Scotch and Soda for those of you who like the grey sweater. Never without a collar. Standard issue for media engagements. And that, ladies and gents, as we said, concludes rounds 1 and 2. Thank you to all of you who have been donating. I think we've got a few others coming in. Thank you, Aim. That's very kind of you. And if we could all pop some money in the pot tonight, we've got 111 people on. So that would be a very, very healthy sum going to Doddie and his wonderful foundation. So we've got a bit of a break coming up a little later. So perhaps that's an opportune moment to pop a pound in the pot. If you are all ready, somebody give me a thumbs up. Should we go through the answers for the first 2 rounds? And then you can either put yourselves out of your misery or feel confident that you're exactly where you need to be in the early exchanges of this quiz. So Louis will donate tenner if you see off a pint. I don't do pints, Louis. I do very fine cut glassware on a Friday night. I imagine you'd expect nothing less. But if it's for charity, we'll see what we can do a little bit later on. I hope no one's recording this, actually. That might be we're off the record. We're Chatham House rules this evening. So, ladies and gents, away we go. The first 5 nations quiz for the 80s. The Millennium Trophy was first played for in 1988. Who are the 2 teams that compete for the trophy? The answer is Ireland and England. The trophy was created to celebrate Dublin's millennium in 1988. So Ireland and England compete for the Millennium Trophy. Question number 2. England won the Grand Slam in 1980, their first since 1957. 4 players in that squad have gone on to either manage or coach the British and Irish Lions. Can you name 2 of them? You can pick from Roger Utley, who was the assistant coach in 1989 to Australia. Fran Cotton, who famously managed the Lions in South Africa in 1997. Bill Beaumont, Sir Bill Beaumont, I should say, who was tour manager in 2005 to New Zealand, and Sir Clive Woodward, who was coach in 2005 to New Zealand. It's worth noting neither were knighted for their services to that tour. So Roger Utley, Fran Cotton, Bill Beaumont and Sir Clive Woodward are the 4. If you picked 2 of those, oh, Jesus. Right, this is obviously going to be the game here. You're going to have to up the money if you want me to knock back a genius, but I will hold all of you to it. But Andrew, you are leading the way so far. So that was question number 2. Question number 3, Wales lost to Scotland 34-18 in the final match of the 1982 tournament in Cardiff. What was the significance of that defeat? The answer is that it was Wales' first home defeat in the tournament since 1968 when they lost to France. So it's Wales' first home defeat since 1968. If you got Wales' first home defeat for a long time, I'll give you 3/4 of a mark. If you got Wales' first home defeat since 1968, you get yourself a fat point. Well done to you. Question number 4. The 1983 tournament was shared by France and Ireland. Both teams finished level on points. France's 5th shared title and Ireland's 8th. But the French winger Patrick Estève achieved what feat that hadn't happened since 1925? He scored a try in every game. So Patrick Estève scored in all 4 games that France played. That's question number 4. Question number 5. England won the Grand Slam in 80. France won it in 1982 and 1987. Which other nation won the Grand Slam in the 80s and what year did they achieve it? If there are some very proud Scots on this link, if there are 1 or 2 of you didn't manage to achieve it or get this, that is very disappointing. It was Scotland who beat France in the winner-takes-all match in 1984 to win their 2nd Grand Slam. I think I'm right to say, was it Jim Calder? I think it was, back in the lineup. something like that. So you get a point for Scotland and you get a point for 1984. Question number 6. Which nation won the wooden spoon 3 times during the 80s? It was Ireland in 81, 84 and 86. Which Welsh player holds the record for the longest place kick when he managed to hoof the ball a massive 64.2 metres? That was the legend that is Mr. Paul Thorburn. Philippe Sella played 111 times for France. He also finished his career at the Saracens, but the club that he played for during his time in France was Agen. In 1988, 2 players faced off, one for Scotland, one for Wales. A year later, they were teammates at Widnes, and the 2 players were Jonathan Davis and Alan Tate. So Jiffy of Wales and Alan Tate of Scotland. They were the 2 players that ended up at Widnes. And finally, the final question of the first round, question number 10. Scotland had 6 new caps in their team against the French in 86. 4 of them represented the British and Irish Lions, 2 of which captained them. The 2 players are Finlay Calder, the legend of Stu Mell, of course, 1989, and Gav Hastings in 1993. 2 icons of not only Scottish rugby, but Lions rugby as well. So toss out the points, a point for each there. 2 points for question number 9. Quickly fly through it. 1 point for question 1, 2 points for question 2, 1 point for question 3, 1 point for question 4, 2 for question 5, 1 point for question 6, 1 for 7, 1 for 8, 2 for 9, and 2 for 10. How are we getting on? Let's have a few scores being popped into the sidebar of shame. If you'd be happy to do that from round 1, we'll try and sort of toss them up and maybe find a pencil and do a leaderboard. Duncan, that is disgraceful. You've got a lot of work to do, I think it's fair to say. Moving on to the other 80s stuff, the second round that we did. The winner, or well, the other side that beat the Wallabies in the 1984 tour, Cardiff Llanelli and South of Scotland, the other side that beat them was Ulster, who won 15-13 for the 1 point. Sprawn, that is embarrassing. It is good for the Boomers, but you know you've got to know your onions if you're coming to play at the Big Genius Quiz. During the same tour, which Australian player scored in all of the 4 Test matches? It is the one, the only, Mark Ella. Well done, Anne-Marie, with your 6. We've got Rodock on 8. Is anyone bettering 8? Timothy Morton, congratulations to you. Scottoon seems to have found himself a bonus half a point from somewhere. Well done, Jay Lovell on 10. Un point for Louis. You're spending far too much time concentrating on the abuse and not on the questions, so that's probably why you're flailing in the latter stages. And well done, Pete Tom on 10. That was question number 12. So Mark Ella was the player that scored in all 4 Test matches. Which was the international side that played their final tests against South Africa before they entered apartheid? The answer is England, who played 2 tests in South Africa in 1984. If you ever Google it, there's a marvellous photograph of the one and the only Stuart Barnes, who looks more like Pablo Escobar with a really very ugly moustache, taken on that tour, for those of you that like that kind of thing. England is the answer to question number 13, 1984, the year, point for each. Question number 14, the 1980 New Zealand Tour of Wales was a tour of 7 games. The All Blacks also took in 2 internationals en route to Wales. What were the other 2 teams that New Zealand played on that tour? The answers are USA and Canada. I would not have known that. If you got it, congratulations, a couple of points, 1 for each. Question number 15, who made their South African debut in 1980 and played his final test in 1992 and retired from rugby, playing for the Italian club side Rovigo? The answer is Nas Botha, the boot. Nas Botha is the answer to question number 15. And question number 16, in 1987, England introduced the National League system. Which club were the first ever National 1 champions? And the answer is Dirty, Dirty Leicester, which as a Bath man is a little difficult to stomach. But Leicester were the first ever National 1 champions, and you will get yourself a point for that. So add up those points as well. 1 point for Ulster, 1 point for Mark Ella, 2 points available, 1 for England and 1 for 1984. 2 points for the USA and Canada, 1 point for Nas Botha, and 1 point for Leicester. Add up the numbers, ring them in red, and if any of you are brave enough to come back in and a little toss it up again, well done, Mark. I think Mark on 11 is sitting pretty at the lead at the moment, unless anybody can better that as we scroll up a little bit. I think, oh God. I will tell you what, Stu, I've just seen your notice about the Never Microwave Moule Marinière. If you pop another tenner in, I will send you a signed Never Microwave Moule Marinière t-shirt. How about that? I've got about 400,000 going spare, so I'd be delighted to get rid of one of them. Darren, disappointing on 9. Jumpy Clouder, very, very weak on 4. Scottoon, still marooned on 1. Really wondering what he's doing at this, or she is doing at this quiz, I should say. Nicholas Reed, very respectable on 6. Magnus Judge, just sort of, tucked into the slipstream of the front runners on 4. Anne-Marie, that's disappointing we haven't contributed any more in the second round. Carl, I have no idea what you're doing here. 0 really is thoroughly disappointing at this point. And Louis still marooned on 1. Very disappointing. Jumpy Clouder, I'd have a House of Rugby shirt if I put in a tenner. Okay, yeah, well, let's see what we can do. Yes, we'll tot all this up. And if you add tenners to the pot and you take photographs of whatever is your donations, we'll send out some shirts for you as well. I might even get Hask to sign it, although it just comes as an X. So you'll have to take that as proof of signature from him. So we have got another short, sharp question, and then we'll give you all a chance to have a break, fill your glasses, whatever it is you need to do, and then we'll duck into the second half of the quiz. I realise I haven't necessarily done this in the order in which Stuart intended, but given that he's not here and not in my ear, just kind of rolling with it, and that's the beauty of it all. So the next quiz section, ladies and gents, is related players with an 80s connection. Who are we? Double question mark. It's intense, I know. Who can't read it either? Who can't read? Is that me? Maybe I'm not doing this as Stu would like, but we're going anyway. I'm in control of the madhouse. So question number 17, ladies and gents, sharpen your pencils once again. We both played for Wales and the British and Irish Lions. For the Lions, one of us played 2 tests in 1980 and the other on the 1997 tour to South Africa. Had to wait until 2001 to get the first of their 3 Lions test caps. We both played in the back row. So, excuse me. We both played for Wales and the British Irish Lions. For the Lions, one of us played 2 tests in 1980 and the other went on the tour in 1997 but had to wait until 2001 to get the first of their 3 Lions test caps. They both played in the back row. What is the combination? Can you give me a thumbs up if I've explained that correctly? Stuck on 11 mark. Hopefully you've got that. Both these players played for Wales and the British and Irish Lions. One played in 1980 in the test series. One went on tour in 97, didn't play a test, and then picked up 3 test caps in 2001. Who are the combination? They both played in the back row. You must get both names. No, I don't want surname, Simon. I want both names. First and last. First and last. Thank you. Militant about first and last. Right. Question number 18. One of us got our first cap for England in 1984. The other had to wait until 1992. Both of us played for Leicester. One of us finished our career at Newcastle with Doddie and the other at Bedford. One of us played 6 tests for the British and Irish Lions. They both played in the 1995 World Cup and they scored 8 tries between them. Who are they? Must get both names. First and last, says Daniel, quite right. Another man who likes detail in a quiz. No half points, no half measures, no bending the rules. Right, question number 19. One of us was born in northern Borneo and the other was born in Glasgow. One of us made our Scottish debut in 1980 against Ireland and the other against Romania in 2006. One of us went on 2 Lions tours and played in 1 test. One of us finished their playing career in France. Another family member has over 100 caps for the Scottish women's football team and is the only family member to represent Scotland at a World Cup. That is a very, very good question. You've got to get both names, and I'll go through it again. So one was born in northern Borneo, one was born in Glasgow. One made their Scottish debut in 1980 against Ireland, and the other made their debut against Romania in 2006. One of them went on 2 Lions tours and played in a test. One of them finished their playing career in France. But another family member, right, let me put some clothes on quickly. Another family member has over 100 caps for the Scottish women's football team and is the only member of the family to have represented Scotland at a World Cup? That is question number 19. Sort of quite frightened that my children might be appearing in this at any point. That is question number 19. Question number 20. One of us made our New Zealand debut in 1989 against Wales. The other did not make their New Zealand debut until 1994. I wish it was the wife, Daniel. It's been quite some time since I said that to her, I can tell you. One of us had played in 3 World Cups, 2 for New Zealand and 1 for Japan. The other played for Western Samoa in the 1991 Rugby World Cup. One of our nephews has played Test Rugby for New Zealand and has spell coaching Leicester. So that's quite a fiddly one. I'll go through it again. One of us made our New Zealand debut in 1989 against Wales. The other did not make their New Zealand debut until 1994. One of them played in 3 World Cups, 2 for New Zealand and 1 for Japan. The other played for Western Samoa in the 1991 Rugby World Cup. And one of their nephews has played Test Rugby for New Zealand and had a spell coaching Leicester. Lots of information. And if you can join the dots, there are a couple of names there. First and last. And you will get a point for each. So we are going to have a break in just a moment. I will quickly fly through the questions once more for you. We'll mark those and then we'll have a break. So final roundup of those questions. Both played for Wales and the British Irish Lions. One of them, take 2. Both played for Wales and the British Irish Lions. For the Lions, one of us played 2 tests in 1980. The other went on tour in 97, but had to wait until 2001 to get the first of their 3 Lions test caps, and they both played in the back row. That's question number 17, a point for each, please. Question number 18. One of us got our first cap for England in 1984. The other had to wait until 1992. Both played for Leicester. One finished their career with Newcastle. The other finished their career at Bedford. One of them played 6 tests for the British and Irish Lions. Both played in the 95 World Cup, and they scored 8 tries between them. Point for both names. Question number 19. It's a fiddly one. One was born in northern Borneo, the other born in Glasgow. One made their Scottish debut in 1980, and the other in 2006. One went on 2 Lions tours and played in 1 test. The other finished their playing career in France. Another family member has over 100 caps for the Scottish women's football team, and is the only family member to represent Scotland at a World Cup. That is a cracking question. A point for each, please. Question number 20. One of us made our New Zealand debut in 1989 against Wales. The other did not make their New Zealand debut until 1994. One of them had played in 3 World Cups, 2 for New Zealand, 1 for Japan. The other played for Western Samoa in the 91 Rugby World Cup. Their nephew has played Test Rugby for New Zealand and had a spell coaching Leicester. A name for first and last, please. So are we all done on that? If we are, we will fly through those answers. A maximum 26 points available once we have marked this round, and then you can all fill your boots in the sidebar of shame with the scores at the halfway mark. So who were the Wales and British and Irish Lions combination? One played 2 tests in 80. The other went on the tour in 97 and played 3 tests in 2001. They both played in the back row. The answer is Derek and Scott Quinnell, the dream team. SQ, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the finest men in the game. And his father, Derek, a legend, of course, not only for Llanelli, but for Wales, for the Barbars, and for the Lions as well. Derek and Scott Quinnell is the answer to question 17. You get a point for both. Which was the combination that came together, one getting capped for England in 84, the other getting capped in 1992. Both played for Leicester. One went to Newcastle, one went to Bedford. One played 6 tests for the British and Irish Lions, and they both played in the 95 World Cup, scoring 8 tries between them. It is Rory and Tony Underwood, which I hope was relatively achievable for both, for all of you. Question number 19, the fiddly one. Which combination? One born in Borneo, one born in Glasgow. One made their Scottish debut in 80 against the Irish, the other in Romania in 2006. One went on 2 Lions tours. One finished in France, and and there's another family member who's played 100 times for Scotland's football team. The answer is John and Johnny Beattie. It has to be John and Johnny, not John and John, or not Johnny and Johnny, but John and Johnny Beattie. And Johnny Beattie as well, an absolute superstar. Question number 20. Again, another fiddly one, but if you know, you know. Both of them played for New Zealand. One capped in 1989 against Wales. The other did not make their New Zealand debut until 94. One played in 3 World Cups, 2 for the All Blacks and 1 for Japan. One played for Western Samoa in 1991. And they also have a nephew who's played Test rugby for New Zealand and had spell coaching Leicester. And the answer is Graham and Stephen Bashop. So Stephen and Graham Bashop. So the combinations you needed: Derek and Scott Quinnell, Rory and Tony Underwood, John and Johnny Beattie, and Graham and Stephen Bashop. 2 points for each, a point for each correct answer. And if you are doodling your scores and you are brave enough to stick them into the sidebar of shame, the potential first half points is a grand total of 26. Those of you still stuck in single figures, I would hang your head in shame. Those of you sort of mid-teens to perhaps early 20s, well done. Those of you who are high 20s, or high sort of, yes, mid to high 20s, well done to you. That is very, very impressive. That is not an easy first half of the quiz. And the good news is it gets even harder from here. Just to whet your appetite, we've got the 1983 and 1989 Lions to come. We'll have a question on those two tours. And we will bounce around a whole various other number of topics. The Rugby World Cup in 1987 as well. And that is to come in a little bit. Shall we have a pause? I'm going to get another drink. I'm going to see how much money we can raise by drinking out of my fine cut glass. It's 8:15. Why don't we say we'll be back in 5 minutes? And if you have got time at this point to click the link and to pop some money into the pot for the great man Doddie and his wonderful foundation, that is obviously the underlying aim of tonight. I know Stuart's pulled a huge amount of effort to get this all together. So if we can support him, if we can support Doddie's foundation, that would be absolutely brilliant. So back in 5 for the second half of the quiz. Stick your scores in the sidebar, and we'll see you in a moment or two. I wish I had some light music or something to play at this point. I won't play us out on the piano, but I will be back in a few moments. See you in a minute. Thank you, team. We're back. Right, let's look at some of these scores. Cheeky GNTs. No, very much on the genius this evening. Just going to refresh. Where have we got to for a left-handed? We still up to 50 quid. Maybe if we can round it all up, that might put another 100 quid in the pot. I'm very happy to send out any House of Rugby merchandise that people may be unwittingly keen to receive. Anything we can do to get pounds in the pot is what tonight is all about. So we've got some good scores coming in. Jumpy Clouder, I mean, I'm sort of a little embarrassed for you at this stage, but what I am admiring is your persistence in staying in the fight. And it's not the size of the fight. No, it's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog, isn't it, Jumpy? So cling to that, if nothing else. Scottoon, you're moving through the gears. Well done to you, up to 16. Duncan Adam, really making up the numbers this evening, which is, valid and valiant in some regards, but also just, well, what can you say? Kieran, the power, has come in with a whopping 20. I cannot believe that you've got 20 out of 26, but if you have, Kieran, you and I would be a very, very impressive dream team in this, the Norse of Norse quizzes. Yeah, let's just have a little peek at where we're going on the back of this. The second half is coming up shortly. The laws are in on 19. The in-laws are on 19. Timothy, well done. I hope you're leaning on them for some moral support. Make every answer Wales, and you'll be doing better than that. 2015 onwards, I might do all right, Duncan. Yes, well, yeah. I'm afraid the 2015 onwards quiz is coming in about a month's time, I think. Has everyone managed to refresh their glasses? I can't really get much feedback on that, but I reckon we'll have to just kind of charge on in 1 minute's time. So hopefully if those of you who are part of a team can yell or text or whatever it is to get everyone back around the a purely Hask round, I think that would exhaust us all. We could dial him in actually and get him to give you all a bit of a shout out. We'll just shout. That's his speciality. It's just a lot of noise, not always focused in the right point. Just scrolling back through some of these other comments in case we've missed any of the good bits. Andrew Brown, I'm holding you to the £50. I'm going to come back for that a little bit later on. Louis, I'm going to add your tenner into that pot as well. And apologies, Jason, if this isn't necessarily on brand for Genius, but we are in the process of raising valuable money for a valuable cause. And just to position myself correctly once again with the head between the two pyramids. Right on. Ladies and gents, turn over the paper and let's crack into the second half of the quiz. I hope you're all enjoying it. I hope you're all feeling confident. Stephen's come in with a late how do we donate. Hopefully, Stephen, you will find on this YouTube page a PayPal link and you simply click that. And I think the suggested donation is 20 quid. If you're comfortable with that, that'd be amazing. Whatever goes in the pot is all going to a very, very valuable cause. Rodoc says go, so go we will. Ladies and gents, the next section of this quiz is the 1983 and 1989 Lions tours. Stu has just reminded Stephen that there's a link on the top of the main description, so hopefully you'll find the donation link there. 83 and 89 Lions tours. Away we go. Question number 21, a single point. This player made his debut for his country in 1982. He played his last test in 1993 and went on 2 British and Irish Lions tours, both to New Zealand, one of them in 83 and one of them in 1993. Who is this great man? He made his debut for his country in 82, played his last test in 93 and went on 2 British and Irish Lions tours to New Zealand, one in 83 and one in 93. Who is he? One of the greats, no doubt about it. Question 22. This man played 27 times on the wing for Scotland between 1981 and 1988. He never scored a single international try for his country. What a desperately sad story. But on the Lions tour, he played in all 4 tests and scored in the 3rd. Who is he? There's a great stat. This isn't that man, but it's a great stat. I think Kenny Logan ever scored a 5 Nations or 6 Nations try for Scotland, did he? Kicked a few valuable points in his time, though. Who played 27 times on the wing for Scotland between 81 and 88. He never scored a single international try for his country, but he played all 4 tests for the Lions. That must have been in 83, and scored in the 3rd test. A point for the name, please. Question 23. Nigel Melville replaced Terry Holmes after he was injured in the 1st test. But unfortunately, Nigel Melville was also injured during his 2nd game and had to be replaced by Steve Smith. Why was the decision to bring Nigel Melville on tour controversial? That is a good question. Nigel Melville in 1983 replaced Terry Holmes after he was injured in the 1st test. Unfortunately, Melville was also injured during his 2nd game and had to be replaced by Steve Smith, also of England. Why was the decision to bring Melville on tour controversial? Very good answer, Robin. Your hero growing up. You obviously went into swan dives and 4-pointers, but good to know that heroes come in all shapes and different sizes. The answer to question 22. That was question number 23. Why was it controversial to pick Nigel Melville for the 83 Lions tour? Question number 24. Who was the top test point scorer on the 1983 tour? Who was the top test point scorer on that 1983 tour? Just the 1 point. Question 25. The 1983 tour consisted of 18 games. They lost all 4 tests, but name the 2 other teams to beat them on that tour. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make it slightly easier by reminding you that in 83, the Lions went to New Zealand, just in case you'd forgotten that key bit of detail. In 83, the Lions toured New Zealand. They played 18 games. They lost all 4 tests, but they also lost 2 other teams. Lost to 2 other teams. Which teams were they? So 2 of the club sides to beat the Lions on the 83 tour. Question number 26. 1 point. In 1986, the scheduled Lions tour to South Africa was cancelled due to concerns over apartheid. A match was played between the Lions and the rest of the world in Cardiff. Name the captain of the Lions team that night. In 1986, the scheduled tour to South Africa was cancelled due to concerns over apartheid. A match was played between the Lions and the rest of the world in Cardiff. Name the captain of the Lions team that night in 1986. It's a bit of a theme. No, it's just not really a theme. Don't worry about themes. Question number 27. Rob Andrew played in the 2nd and 3rd Test matches during the 1989 Australian tour. He was not in the original tour party. Who did he replace on that tour? Rob Andrew played in the 2nd and 3rd Test matches during the 1989 Australian tour. He was not in the original tour party. Who did he replace on that tour? I'm just flicking back. Anne-Marie, you can definitely have a T-shirt for doing so well. I'm not quite sure what your score is at this point, but I'd be very happy to send you some House of Rugby merchandise. Stephen, we've answered your question about how to donate. Mark is getting the beers in. Congratulations to you. Beers are fresh and ready to go. Links and heroes. Good stuff. I hope you're all still with us and finding this one as challenging as the last, but finding some answers as well. Question number 28. Who made 3 appearances for Leicester Tigers during the 91-92 season and also played against the British and Irish Lions for New South Wales B in 1989? This is a cracker. Who made 3 appearances for Leicester Tigers during the 1991-92 season and also played against the British and Irish Lions for New South Wales B in 1989? That is a stellar question. Just 1 point, but it's a valuable point. It's a golden point if you can find the answer. I wonder if you may yet have a role to play with the Lions. Not anytime soon, but you never know. Name the 3 players that started in the front row for all 3 tests on the 1989 Australian tour. That is question number 29. Name the 3 players that started in the front row for all 3 tests on the 1989 Australian tour. Question number 30. Which club had the most players on the 1989 tour? And name the players. Which club had the most players on the 1989 tour? And name the players. That is tricky, but there are 4 points available. I will help you by saying that 1 point for the club, and you're looking for 3 players. So 1 club provided 3 players. That was the most of any club. What was the club and who were the players? And I should be able to get that if you can read between the lines. That's question number 30. 4 points available for it. Which club had the most players on the 1989 tour and name the players? Question number 31. We're coming on to nuclear physics in a moment or two, Darren. You might well be able to go better on that than we are on the 1983 and 1989 Lions tours. It's the fun. If it's easy, it's no fun. The point of this is to challenge you and to make you rack the brains and to think outside the norm. Question number 31. The great white shark did not gain a test cap on the 1989 tour. Who was famously called the Great White Shark, and which club team did he play for? It's a good question. There's a definite tartan theme to a lot of these questions, But the Great White Shark did not gain a test cap on the 89 tour. Who was the Great White Shark and what club team did he play for? Louis just realised it was 80s based. I'm not quite sure at what point you missed during the start of the proceedings, where I went on and on about the fact that it's the 80s. Perhaps you were filling up the wine glass, I don't know. Got to keep in it. And listen, Sprawn, don't give up. I know this isn't your quiz on this occasion, but it's good to be in it. It's good to, test yourself against the best and, get yourself set, get yourself familiar with proceedings before potentially you come back and dominate with Bruce next week. We shall see, obviously. But, hang on in there. There might be one or two that come up where you can redeem yourself. Who was the Great White Shark and what club team did he play for? Question number 32, the final question of this, the Lions of 83 and 89. The Lions played a test match against France in 1989. The Lions won the test with all the points coming from 2 players. Can you name those players? That is a very good question. The Lions played a test match against the French in 1989. The Lions won the test with all the points contributed by 2 players. Can you name those 2 players? So that was the third round, which was the Lions of 83 and 89. And I tell you what we'll do is we're going to charge on through because I want the suspense to build. In fact, no, rubbish. I tell you what, let's mark those. Let's mark those now, and then we'll pull out the big dogs and see who's going to come charging through the finish line. So let's go through I'll repeat the questions and then we'll go through the answers. Question number 21. This player made his debut for his country in 82. He played his last test in 93. Went on 2 Lions tours to New Zealand, 83 and 93. Who is he? Question 22. He played 27 times on the wing for Scotland between 81 and 88. So 81 and 88. He didn't score a try for his country, but he did score in the 3rd test for the Lions in 83. Nigel Melville replaced Terry Holmes when he was injured in the 1st test of 83. Unfortunately, Nigel was then injured himself and was replaced by Steve Smith. Why was he a controversial selection? Who was the top test point scorer on the 83 tour? Is question 24, 1 point. The 83 tour had 18 games. They lost all 4 tests, but named the other 2 teams to beat them on that tour. Point for each. In 86, the scheduled Lions tour to South Africa was cancelled due to concerns over apartheid. A match was played between the Lions and the rest of the world in Cardiff, named the captain of the Lions that night. Rob Andrew played in the 2nd and 3rd tests on the 89 Australian tour, but he wasn't in the original tour party. Who did he replace on that tour? Delicious. Who made 3 appearances for Leicester in the 91-92 season and also played against the Lions for New South Wales B in 89? It's question 28. 29, name the 3 players that started in the front row for all 3 tests on the 89 Lions tour. And question number 30, which club had the most players? Name the club, name the players on the 89 tour. Who was the Great White Shark and what club team did he play for? And the Lions played a test match against France in 89. The Lions won the test with all the points coming from 2 players. Name those 2 players. A quick check-in. Keep the faith. Keep the faith, those of you who are struggling with it. It's all fun and games. It's all for a good cause. And I'm going to fly through those answers now. 83 and 89 Lions tour. Question 21. The player who made his debut for his country in 82 and his last test in 93 was the legend, the straw man, Peter Winterbottom. Who played 27 times for Scotland on the wing, didn't score a try, but did in the 3rd test of the 83 Lions tour. Roger Baird. Where's our... Yeah, there you are, Robin. I hope you got that right. Your hero growing up. Nigel Melville replaced Terry Holmes after he was injured in the 1st test. Unfortunately, Nigel was then injured and out came Steve Smith. Why was Nigel a controversial selection? And the answer is that he hadn't yet been capped by England. So he was an uncapped Lion. And I reckon possibly it's the last uncapped Lion to make a test debut for the Lions before he did his country. Greenwood went in 97 uncapped, but didn't unfortunately feature in the Lions in the test series. But Nigel Melville capped by the Lions before he was capped by England. Who was the top test point scorer on that 83 Lions tour? The answer is Ollie Campbell of Ireland. That was a single point for you. Question number 25. The 83 tour consisted of 18 games. They lost all 4 tests. The other 2 teams to beat them were Auckland and Canterbury. You can get a point for each. Louis gone. I'm sorry that Louis gone at this point. I'm sorry if I'm going too slowly. Anyway, hopefully you're keeping up. We'll pick up speed over the next junction. Auckland Canterbury, the teams to beat the Lions. In 86, Colin Deans was the captain of the team that beat the rest of the world in Cardiff. Rob Andrew replaced Paul Dean in the 1989 Lions tour. Ireland standoff was injured in the first match against Western Australia. We have got Eddie Jones as the question to 28. Well done if you got the beaver. I'll take the beaver as well as Eddie Jones as the answer to question 28. 3 appearances for Leicester in 91-92 and also played against the Lions for New South Wales B in 89. The 3 players that started in the front row of all 3 tests on the 89 Lions tour were David Soul, Brian Moore and Dai Young. Point for each. We have got 4 points available for question 30. So which club had the most players of the 89 Lions tour, and name the players? The club was the mighty Bath, and the players, Andy Robinson, Gareth Chilcott and Jeremy Guscott, who of course scored a memorable try in the second test. The Bath bricklayer has done it, I think was the famous line. So Bath was the answer. Andy Robinson, Gareth Chilcott and Jeremy Guscott. The Great White Shark was, of course, the ledge John Jeffrey, who played for Kelso in the Scottish Borders. The Lions played a test match against France in 1989. The Lions won. All the points came from 2 players. Gavin Hastings, Big Gav, scored 2 tries, a conversion of 4 penalties. And Rob Andrew scored a rare try and kicked a drop goal. So you can have a point for Gavin Hastings and a point for Rob Andrew. Add up the points, stick them in the sidebar. We're going to charge on. If you want to stick your points into the sidebar, please do that. Louis, thank you so much for playing. Look forward to seeing you next week. I'm sure Bruce will do a fine job and perhaps a faster job as well. Thank you, Duncan. Thank you for donating your money as well. Sorry that you're dipping out at this point, but thank you for staying in the race as long as you have done. And hopefully there are 1 or 2 things that you can take to the pub and you can impress whoever needs impressing with rugby matters from the 1980s. Well done, Henry. Strong from you. 17. I'm impressed. Darren Jones on 15 must do better. Black, white. JJ. John Jeffrey, the Great White Shark, of course. 26 from Timothy Morton. I think that might be. No, it's not. In comes Jay Lovell, up to 32. Impressive. Jumpy Cloud is still languishing in the backwaters with 5. Michael Neal, 9 for that round, but pulled some answers from God knows where. You know, it comes in fits and starts, these quizzes. It's all about staying in it to the end. John Bentley, uncapped. No, John Bentley, I'm afraid, was capped at C. Gladstone. He was capped in the 80s, then went to League and then came back and went on the Lions tour. I don't think he'd played for England when he went on the Lions tour since coming back, but he had been capped prior to that. I think maybe 88 against Australia. You're going to come at the Norse, come with a loaded gun. Right, let's do the final round, and then we'll toss up the doors. We'll hand out some prizes, and we will tell you about the details for next week, when hopefully you'll all come and hopefully have a bit more fun in the latter years. So the final round of the 80s quiz is the Rugby World Cup in 1987. If you've sharpened your pencil, Barry Williams had played for Wales without a shadow of a doubt. You are loving this, Anna-Marie. Thank you so much, Anne-Marie. Thank you so much for your support, and well done, Captain Tom. 12 on that round. A better round. Andy and Dougie have got a total of 28, so that is up there. But Jay Lovell still our leader on 32, which is remarkably impressive. Off we go then with the final round. The Rugby World Cup of 1987. Who scored the first try at the 1987 Rugby World Cup and repeated the same feat at the 1991 tournament? Who scored the first try of the first ever Rugby World Cup in 1987 and did the same thing in 1991? Come, Bruce. It's makeup, it's lighting, it's Botox, and it's not much more. I'll send my makeup artist up to you for next Friday's quiz. We can make you look absolutely tip-top. Jumpy Cloud is looking forward to 2000. We are in the 80s at the moment with the 87 Rugby World Cup. Who scored the first try in 87 and the first try in 1991? That is question 33. Question 34. Which team played in the 1987 and 1991 World Cups but hasn't featured at a tournament since. They have never won a match, and they conceded the most points in both events. That's a rather sad story. Which team played in 87 and 91? They haven't featured since. They've never won a game, and they conceded the most points in both events. Sorry, Bruce. I'll send you my toupee as well. We'll have that up and vacuum packed and distributed to you in no time at all. Which team played at 87 tournament, 91 World Cup, and they haven't played since. They never won a game, and they've conceded the most points in both tournaments. Question number 35. Name the 2 New Zealand players who scored 4 tries each against Fiji. Name the 2 New Zealand players who scored 4 tries each against Fiji. I'll put a little bonus ball in there, a little curve ball in there for you, a little just clue as well. They both went to rugby league. That hopefully will help in the 87 tournament. Both of these players ended up in rugby league, and both of them scored 4 tries against Fiji. Point for each. Question number 36. Of the 8 teams who made the quarterfinals, only 3 have never failed to reach the quarterfinals at subsequent World Cups. Who are the 3 teams? So the 8 teams that made the 1987 World Cup quarterfinals, 3 of them have never failed to reach the quarterfinals subsequently. Who are those 3 teams? That's a good question. Hopefully you'll be able to, if you know your latter years, you might be able to work it out. You get a point for each. Who are the 3 teams who have never failed to make the quarterfinals of the Rugby World Cup? Another way of phrasing it. That's question 36. You'll get a point for each of those, 3 to find. Question 37. The first player to be sent off in the Rugby World Cup was in the semi-final between Wales and New Zealand. Who was that player? Who was the first player to be sent off in the Rugby World Cup in the semi-final between Wales and New Zealand? If you're active on social media, we need to blitz this for next week. Absolutely. Absolutely you do. Some good questions needed next week. I know that they'll be delivered with aplomb by Bruce in his tartan trews and very fine makeup set. There's a clue in there for those of you who know the incident. Buck Shelford should also have been sent off. Buck Shelford started it. No, sorry, Hugh Richards started it. Buck Shelford finished it, but Hugh Richards was... Oh my God, I've given out the answer. Good. Yes, that went well. Tell you what, this genius stuff works very well as you work through the quiz. I tell you what, that's a little bonus ball from me to all of you. The question number 37 is the first player to be sent off in the Rugby World Cup in the semi-final between Wales and New Zealand. Who was the player? You can have that one from me to you. The answer is Hugh Richards. Yeah, sorry about that. Hopefully that lifts up some of you who are in the backwaters. At least you get something for this round. Trying to be too clever. Just keep to reading out the questions and do no more, Payne. Question number 38. Both semi-finals were played in Australia. The second was at Ballymore in Brisbane. The first was in Sydney, but which ground in Sydney? Question number 38. Both semi-finals in Australia. The second was in Ballymore. The first was in Sydney, but which ground in Sydney? Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, quack, quack, oops, exactly. Freebie, don't blame the beer. How many of you had, Alex? Yeah, good. Yeah, it's not as easy as you think, this talking in public lark. So I've given you 37. Question 38, the Concord. This is all going wrong. Both semi-finals played in Australia. The second was at Ballymore in Brisbane. The first was in Sydney, but which ground in Sydney? And question 39, who lifted the Webb Ellis Trophy for the first time? Who lifted the Webb Ellis Trophy in 1987 for the first time? I'm very happy to help you along there. Inaugurals is coming out, Timothy. You're absolutely right. No, Daniel, I didn't give it away, but it was just a little help. We've got, we're dropping in numbers. So we need to keep some people in the game. This is mighty fine stuff. I tell you what, if you want to get this, if you want to go well in this quiz, feed the Quizmaster genius and get a palette of your own for next week. Who lifted the Webb Ellis Trophy for the first time? That's question number 39. Question number 40. Although the first ever Rugby World Cup happened in 1987, there was a reigning champion at the time. This is really going to test the Norse. Who were technically the reigning international champions at the 1987 World Cup, having won gold medal at the 1923 Summer Olympics rugby tournament? So the question is essentially who won gold at the 1923 Summer Olympics, but they were also deemed the reigning champions when they arrived at the 1987 inaugural Rugby World Cup in New Zealand and Australia. That is the final question, which will be a relief to me as the quizmaster, and hopefully to those of you who are still stuck in neutral on the start line. That was the final question. Question number 40, a single point. Who were the reigning Summer Olympic champions of 1923? Let's fly through those questions once again, and then we'll go through the answers, and then we can all crack a beer and celebrate and toast the champion. So question 33, who scored the first try at the 87 Rugby World Cup and repeated the same feat in 1991? Single point for that. Which team played in the 87 and 91 World Cup tournaments but haven't featured since? They've never won a match and they've conceded the most points in both of the tournaments they featured in. Name the 2 New Zealand players who scored their 4 tries each against Fiji. Of the 8 teams who made the quarterfinals, only 3 have never failed to reach the quarterfinals at subsequent World Cups. Who are the 3 teams? The first player to be sent off in the Rugby World Cup in the semi-final between Wales and New Zealand was, if you don't get that one right, having been handed the answer, we've got problems. And both semi-finals played in Australia. Question 38. The second was at Ballymore in Brisbane. The first was in Sydney, but what ground in Sydney? Who lifted the Webb Ellis Trophy for the first time? And although the first ever Rugby World Cup happened in 1987, there was still a reigning champion at the time, who were the 1923 Summer Olympics gold medal holders. The tooth fell out. It really is all falling apart. We explain why I've got a bit of a lisp at the moment, and I bet you can't do that next week, Bruce. Is I've got a fake tooth at the moment, and it's very difficult to talk at extended periods whilst also drinking fine beer and reading out lots of questions. So let me just whip through those. Question 33. Who scored the first try at the 1987 Rugby World Cup and repeated the same feat in 91? It is one of the greatest players of all time, Michael Jones of the All Blacks. Which team played in 87 and 91, never won a game and conceded the most points in both events? The answer is Zimbabwe. We have got question number 35. Name the 2 New Zealand players who scored 4 tries each against Fiji. John Gallagher and Craig Green is the answer to question number 35, a point for each. Question number 36, 3 points available. Of the 8 teams who made the quarterfinals, which are the 3 to go on to every subsequent knockout stage in subsequent World Cups? So who has always featured in the quarterfinals? New Zealand, obviously, Australia, and Les Bleus, the French. Peter Robinson coming in with a mighty 31. Formidable indeed. Andrew, hang in there. We'll come to this in a moment or two. Of the 8 teams we've done, New Zealand, Australia, and France, a point for each. The first player to be sent off in the Rugby World Cup was in the semi-final between Wales and New Zealand. That was obviously Hugh Richards. Apologies for the slight momentary loss of concentration. Both semi-finals played in Australia, question 38. The second was at Ballymore. The first was in Sydney. But which ground in Sydney? The answer is the Concord Oval. Who lifted the Webb Ellis Trophy for the first time? The answer is David Kirk of New Zealand. And although the first ever Rugby World Cup happened in 1987, there was still a reigning champion at the time, who were the reigning international champions at that tournament, having won the gold medal at the 1923 Summer Olympics rugby tournament. Does anyone want to stick it into the sidebar of shame? 5, 4, 3, 2. None of you can type fast enough. The answer is the USA. And that concludes proceedings. So 1 or 2 minor errors from the quizmaster. Apologies on that front. But amazing questions, first of all. Well done to Stuart for pulling all of those together. Well done to those of you who've stuck with it thus far. The potential second half points is a total of 31, which means that we are playing for 57 in total, if I'm right. Let me go back to up to the top. Am I right in saying, Stuart, we're playing for 57, 26, 31? Yes, 57. So potential total, it actually says it underneath. Potential total points are 57. If you are brave enough, please do stick your points into the sidebar of shame. Can I just, before we draw things to proceedings, and potentially I will do the fundraising pint, can I just draw your attention to the fact that next week the Master Bruce will be alongside, taking full control in great style. Next week's quiz is the 90s, so hopefully some of you younger kids will get stuck into that. On the 15th of May, we have got the one, the only, the magnificent Jill Douglas, a huge supporter of Doddie's Foundation, a great friend of his, of course, as well. She will be taking control on the 15th of May with the Naughties. That's fairly appropriate. And we've got the magnificent Scotty Hastings hosting the quiz on the 22nd of May as well. That'll be the 10s and beyond. What a superstar list of guests to come a little bit later on. So Bruce next week with the 90s, Jill on the 15th of May with the Naughties, and Scotty will be in the 22nd of May with the 10s and beyond. Please do sit in the diary. Please do come back. Please do get revising and researching in the meantime. I just quickly want to remind you as well that if you haven't donated, we would love you to do just that. There is hopefully a link in the quiz at some point. If you would like a signed House of Rugby t-shirt, and I know one or two of you did that, then please do pop a link on Twitter. Perhaps might be the easiest way to do it. And I will rummage in the store cupboard and send any of those out to any of you who'd like one of those. But of course, the real foundation stone tonight has been raising some wonderful money for Doddie and his incredible cause, his incredible fight. And hopefully, if you haven't already, you will manage to do that. If you have done, thank you so much. That is exactly what we're here to do tonight. And if you've persisted with the quiz, one or two early bailers, then well done to you. Let's have a little look through this sidebar of shame and see what we get to as a high. Some early 30s. Well done, Bruce. 32 out of 57. The power is with you next week. 35 from Timothy, an early front runner, but has dropped back a little bit. Kieran, the power. At the moment, our front runner on 37. 16, Anne-Marie, not that impressive, but well done for sticking with it. 21, well done, Darren. Thank you to you for coming on. Jay Lovell was certainly up there, and I think with 41 is our leader. Jumpy Clouder all over the place with 8, but great persistence. And well done to you for not only sticking some money in the pot, ping us a note and I'll happily pop a t-shirt in the post to you. 32 from Scottoon, came again. 32, not too bad. No, you don't get a bonus for the 1924 Olympics. In fact, you get a point deducted for cheek. What else have we got? Solid 16 from Nicholas. Well done to you. Too embarrassed to state your score, Simon. Well done to you for coming along. Well done, Stuart, obviously, and Jason and Rob as well, who's been a master of all the mechanics. 45 from Henry. I think that's the top score so far. Well done to you, Henry. Impressive stuff. 45 question mark from Rodoc. I'm not sure whether you're just trying to level things up at the finish line. Michael with 28. We've got some 36s. Timothy Morton with 45. Another 45. Timothy Morton, you're putting in, I'm getting very confused. Lots of people clambering in a lot. 5p. Oh, yes, well done. I forgot to mention that, actually. Ahead of next week, do go and buy yourself some Genius beer, because every can that is sold puts 5p in the kitty for Doddie. They're a huge supporter of Doddie's Foundation. I have to be honest with you, it is an amazingly good tipple. I'm not just saying that because I actually managed to get the wife drinking it last night. She's not a beer drinker, and she has got very excited by it. So, yeah, do get yourself some of the good stuff for next week. £10 from Scottoon. Thank you to you. The good thing about actually Genius is while you drink, you're donating, and frankly, there is no better way to do it than with a good pint. 21 from Magnus. Well done to you. 33. You need a word with Stu about some of the questions. I imagine that's a family affair. So, yeah, I'll let you sort that out afterwards. Donated this morning. Thank you, Mark. Great to have your donation. 90s. We'll see you next week. Anne-Marie. Well done, everybody. If anybody out there would still like to pop the £50 in the pot, I'm not sure. Jason, are you happy to pop a thumbs up if I'm allowed to do this? It will be left-handed. You've got about 30 seconds, Jason. No, 10 seconds to say yes or no. But wherever my friend is who said he put 50 quid in the pot, it's all for a good cause. It's all for Doddie. I'm actually going to take out the tooth. quite a note on which to finish. Go on, off we go, genius. Ready? Delicious. Delicious and nutritious. Quite a lot of fizz in there as well, which is part of what makes this such a delicious beer. Excuse me. We're done. Ladies and gents, thank you so much for playing tonight. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. It has been quite a curious experience, spending the best part of an hour and a half talking to myself. I've enjoyed it enormously. The main thing is we get as much money in the pot for the legend is Doddie. See you next week. Bruce will be in control. We'll have a hairpiece, makeup, and a tartan kilt sent up. Well, she's probably got several of those already. But thank you for joining us. Have a very good rest of your weekend. I've no idea how to finish this, so we'll just kind of have this awkward moment now where we all kind of look for the right buttons. But lots of love and hugs to you all. Well done to Stu for putting it together, Jason and Charlie for your fantastic support, Rob for making the whole thing work from a tech perspective, and to all of you for playing. Well done if you stuck with it. Well done to, I think we give the quiz, we'll give, who are we giving the prize to? Whoever it was that got 45. Well done to you. One other thing I forgot to say is everyone who's donated, the prizes will be announced on Monday. Now, if you want to know whether you've won a prize, and we've got the brilliant prizes, which are Cases of Genius Beer from Jason and Charlie. We've got a signed line jersey from the 2017 tour. We've got a signed Doddie autobiography. And if any of you would like to come for a House of Rugby tour, we will give away one of those as well. Those are going to be announced on Monday on Stuart Tom's Twitter feed, which is at StuartTom11. Perhaps we can stick it in the sidebar of shame here, Stuart. Stick that in, and people can click on that, follow you, and you will be announcing the prizes on Monday when the pool closes. Lots of time to donate between now and then. It's been a really good giggle. I hope you have a very good rest of your weekend. I'm off to get through the rest of the good produce behind me. Thank you very much, Lee, for that. Love and hugs. Speak to you all soon, and good luck next week. Bruce, over to you.